I have some people in my audience who are Meghan Markle defenders and Prince Harry defenders, and they'll say to me things like in the comments, stay in your lane, don't talk about this." I just want to say that talking about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, while it has not been a big focus of my channel, it has been something that I have been doing from almost the very beginning. In fact, you can go back over 4 years and you can see where I had started making videos basically saying the same things that I'm saying now, which is that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are drama queens. I don't know if they have actual narcissistic personality disorders or if they're just very narcissistic. And I think that that they have been on a campaign, a multi-year campaign, to try to destroy and damage at least the image of the royal family in almost every way at their disposal that they can get away with without looking completely ridiculous or like complete assholes, which I would argue they kind of have. And I watched the whole interview, and so here's my point. I have not made a lot of videos about them, but I have been watching this situation, not as closely as a lot of people. But when I see, like I said earlier, when I see them, one of them engaging in some kind of jaw-dropping, I cannot believe activity of some kind, then I will weigh in. So last week I made a video in which I said, and I'm going to show you a clip here from Harry in just a minute, but I want to back up just a bit because a few days ago I made a video in which I said that I could not believe that Meghan Markle had used the HRH title in writing to promote her gift baskets. In other words, she's got in big lettering on the gift baskets that she apparently gives out to these other celebrities or podcast hosts or whomever. One of them was bragging about it, right? Was showing it off. Jamie Lima. I guess the lady's a billionaire because of some makeup that she came up with, but damn, that was the most boring podcast. I couldn't watch more than a few minutes, though, I have to concede. It was ridiculous. But that gift basket that woman got from Meghan Markle, it says, and you've seen it in big lettering, it says, compliments of HRH, Her Royal Highness, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, or whatever. Maybe it didn't say Markle. I don't know. I don't remember. But HRH. Now look, this was something, and it's explicitly in writing. Thank you to the person on Twitter who reminded me of this, and I reposted it. It was put in writing and made public for everyone at the time when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle negotiated their exit package, so to speak, and their exit plan with the Queen and with the Queen's people. It was put in writing that they were not to use the HRH titles. They were not to use them. Now, they were not being stripped of them, which is what a lot of people wanted to happen because those titles are coveted. Look, we can all, like, people can laugh at this and say this is fucking silly and this is not a real world problem or whatever. Okay, why are any of us on YouTube looking at any celebrity stuff? Go out and do something meaningful with your life then. I guarantee you that making some of us feel bad for sitting here talking about this stuff is not the most meaningful use of your time. So if you don't want to talk about things that you find to be trivial, leave. Leave. Anyways, that's for a few of you. Just preemptively, I want to get this out here because I'm tired of people saying, I don't care. Okay, then go away. You know, leaving a comment on someone's page is not the behavior of someone who doesn't care. It's the behavior of someone who actually does care. But anyway, I digress. They weren't supposed to use those HRH titles. They were not supposed to. And people can say those titles are stupid or trivial or whatever, but you have to understand that for hundreds of years in the British aristocracy, and in British society, and lots of cultures have had titles for aristocracy and royalty, but these things meant something. And you have to understand too that not all royal family members even get the HRH titles necessarily. It's a complicated thing. And by the way, I'm not just dipping my toe in this. I've actually read books, yes, books about the history of the royal family, which is not to say I know everything there is to know, but I have some familiarities. The point is these HRH things, they're coveted. And it also means that if you have the HRH title, it means that people have to, when you go visit Great Britain, they're supposed to, they don't have to, but they're supposed to bow and curtsy to you and let you walk in front of them and all this stuff. Again, all this stuff that you might find to be ridiculous and I might find to be on some level ridiculous and all that, but whatever. But the point is, the agreement was with the Queen that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were going to get certain concessions from her, a variety of concessions that I don't even want to get into because I don't have time. But concessions for her in exchange for some things that they were agreeing that they would not do. And that was the big one. That was arguably the biggest one, y'all, that got the most PR and the most attention. And it was explicitly put out there. They were not to use, Meghan and Harry were not to use the HRH titles. So for Meghan, and I guarantee you Meghan knows that and she remembers it, she wasn't suffering some kind of mommy brain in which she forgot that she wasn't supposed to use those titles. And so I guarantee you what happened is this is yet another instance of Meghan taking the opportunity to jab the royal family figuratively in the face. Oh, you look at your title that you think so much of that the queen said we weren't supposed to use, and well, here it is. It's on this gift basket that I'm giving to this nobody. I don't care. It's not cancer. It's not my life. It's not keeping me up at night, y'all. It's not. But it is fucking infuriating. And if I'm going to take the time on this show to comment on celebrity stuff, then I'm going to comment that this is fucking infuriating. And so on the heels of that, then, not even a week after Meghan pulled that shit, then we get this long, extensive, almost hour-long BBC interview. And if you haven't watched it, to me, it comes off as Harry just whining the whole time, exaggerating, and yes, I think at times misleading, saying things in such a way to be misleading. And again, just like the interview that Harry and Meghan did with Oprah, where if you actually went back and fact checked some of the things that they were claiming that might have sounded like in the moment, and then you actually look at the truth behind it, and you're like, oh wait, they were wrong here, they were wrong here, and they were wrong here, and they didn't say this. It's the same thing with the picture that Harry is painting of his security situation. As a number of people have pointed out, Harry and his family would have security if they went to the UK to hang out with the family and to do these family related things that he's apparently wanting to do because he just wants his father to be able to see his kids, supposedly. These things could definitely happen. What Harry and Meghan would have you believe is that they are so under siege, they are so tormented by the people of the UK that they cannot step foot on that because the UK is hostile soil, as if Harry were going to visit Afghanistan. And by the way, while we're on the subject of Afghanistan, and those of you who've been following this situation with Harry, you know exactly where I'm going with this one, don't you? If Harry has been so concerned over the years about possible threats to him and to his family, his wife, his beautiful children, if Harry were so concerned about threats, then tell all of us why he chose to write/brag about the Taliban people that his army buddies and him killed, because that's in there. That is something that he did not have to talk about, but he chose to talk about in his memoir. So, to me, this reminds me of to get back to the Manson thing for just a second, and I'm always going to bring it up because it's always going to be one of the biggest stories that I've ever done and one of the most outrageous. But to get back to that for just a second, it reminds me of when Evan Rachel Wood complained that she was so afraid that Marilyn Manson or some of his fans would come to her house and attack her, that she was considering installing bulletproof glass in her house because she was so afraid. And she'd had to run away to Tennessee because she was so afraid. Meanwhile, do you want to know how afraid Evan Rachel Wood was? She put her own son, the very son whose safety she said she was so concerned about, she made this son a focal point in part 2 of the 2-part hit piece documentary that she did for HBO about Marilyn Manson. She made her own son, whose safety she was so concerned about, a focal point. He was in scene after scene after scene. That's how concerned about him she was. That's how much she wanted to shield him from the possible danger of crazy Marilyn Manson fans, is that she made him one of the focal points of the documentary that she made, taking down Marilyn Manson. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. So Harry, I don't understand. I don't fucking understand. And no one is buying this shit. And let me say something else, Harry. Let's say, for argument's sake, that you were right about the security issue and that you do need more security than is being given to you by this governmental board that you are telling us has been so infiltrated by scheming royal family members who are trying to take you down. Let's say that you were right, that you needed more security. You know what? If you want someone to do something nice for you, that is, if you want the UK government and the royal family to make these perhaps necessary concessions for you, then you know what you don't do? You don't go around month after month, year after year, doing this to them and trying to set fire to the entire institution and trying to damage its reputation as much as you can, and going everywhere talking about how racist it was, and going on that Oprah interview where you actually suggested that your family was so racist that it withheld proper titles from your son, that the Queen withheld proper titles from Archie, her great-grandson, out of racism. That is horrible. If that were true, that would be absolutely absurdly horrible, but it's not true. It's not true. And I have to say that I understand that King Charles, I understand that he just wants to keep things calm and peaceful, and he doesn't want to alienate Harry any more than Harry's already been alienated and all of that. But there comes a time and a place when someone has given you so much provocation that you really have no choice. You are backed against a wall, figuratively speaking, and you really have no choice but to act. And you have out here almost a kind of a double agent. You have a turncoat out here who is claiming to represent your family on some level, and his wife is claiming to, and using these HRH titles. Meanwhile, they are actively, with almost every interview that they do and every event that they do, trying to destroy through insinuation or blanket accusation, trying to destroy this institution. You just cannot have that. You can't have that disjunction there. There is a cancer at the core of the monarchy as long as these people are allowed to continue to receive support from it and to represent it through their titles. I really do think that. And no, it's not the most serious thing ever. Again, we're just talking about celebrity stuff, y'all. But it's infuriating to me that he thinks that he can behave in this way, Harry. He thinks that he can go on a multi-year campaign of destruction in interviews and books and all of that. I mean, he depicted William as like this thuggy, abusive brother who comes over and like beats him up or whatever. I can't remember the exact details, okay? So it's been a while since I've read the book. I did read the book. I skimmed it. And whether things happen this way or that way, I think with Harry, and Meghan, we obviously get a very distorted image. But whatever, Harry thinks he can put all this stuff out there, and then it's like, give me my security. You owe me my security. What, you want me to die? Is that what it is? Y'all just want me to die? Come on, dude. Grow up. It's really unbecoming. Tim says, thank you, Colonel, for the content. Sobering events these days. Well, ridiculous events, at least if we're talking about Harry. The stuff with Blake Lively and Baldoni is sobering, too, because it's emblematic of a whole unfortunate movement under the cloak of feminism to target and destroy men and institutions. In that case, a whole production company. And what we find out, too, Wayfarer, they had to close down their foundation, I assume they're doing this because things have gotten so complicated with all this situation. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Blake at the end. I'm almost there because I do have to go soon. But you can't have this King Charles royal family. You can't have this guy. I don't know. People are saying, oh, well, they have to petition Parliament. I don't care what has to be done. Someone needs to show some leadership here and get the ball rolling to formally cut these two off from this institution that they are actively, continually trying to destroy or damage. I don't know if they have the power to destroy it, but damage it. And there were several parts of this latest interview that pissed me off, but there was one part that to me was just jaw-dropping. And I posted this on my Twitter. I just want to play it once or twice here and talk about it. This is from Harry's interview where he was complaining the whole time about how he had not been granted the level of security by the UK that he deserves, etc.
Through the disclosure process, I've discovered that some people want history to repeat itself, which is pretty dark.
That's quite a statement. Who do you think that is?
I'm not going to share at this point. Through the disclosure process, I've
So
discovered that some people.
Sorry, they had just had this conversation in this interview to give you context about, and the history he's talking about is that Harry believes that his mother Diana was killed. I don't know that he believes that the royal family killed them. I think he's talking more about the paparazzi and the fact that she was trying to escape. Her driver was trying to get around or escape or outrun the paparazzi, and ended up crashing into the side of the tunnel, something like that, right? And Diana died. And so Harry is saying that there is he has found out through a kind of discovery mechanism or disclosure mechanism. So I guess that he's able, or he's telling us that he's able to see records of maybe conversations, exchanges that people have had in the government and with the royal family, to determine whether or not he will get security or not. I don't know. He's very vague about it. But he keeps in this interview, he keeps referring back to certain things that he has found through a disclosure. All right. And so he is claiming here that he has discovered that there are people, and he's been talking about the UK government up to this point and the royal family. And so I don't see how else you read this except that he is saying he would have us believe that he has found evidence of the fact that there are people in the royal family and in the government who want him to be killed, who want him to die. I don't know how else to interpret it. And he would probably deny that. And this is where Harry, as he's done so often, he and Meghan, they'll put something, I hate this rhetorical strategy. They'll put something out there that insinuates or implies something very, very bad. And then they'll back away from it. And then when people say, wait a minute, are you saying that the royal family is racist? Or are you saying this or that? And they'll say, no, I didn't say that. It's so disingenuous, and it really bothers me. But I'm going to play this one more time because it really is just, I think, shocking, and it shows the degree to which he has been emboldened by the fact that there really aren't any consequences to him going on this campaign of slander against the royal family. And until there are consequences, it won't stop, and maybe it won't stop at all. But I just can't believe that he can be out here accusing the basically this. He can be out here. Prince Harry is allowed to be out here publicly in front of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people, publicly accusing the royal family and or the UK government of wanting him to be killed and his family to be killed. He can be out there saying that, and yet she is allowed to use the HRH title on gift baskets, and he's allowed to call himself the Duke of Sussex, et cetera, and receive the benefits that they still are receiving from that to varying degrees. I just can't believe it. And so, yes, the titles, however that needs to be done, they need to be taken away. And yes, this isn't the biggest story in the world, but it is infuriating to have people behaving this way and then to turn around and attack others as the source of their problems. Case in point, I think what bothers me about the Blake Lively situation, what bothers me about some of the other things I've covered, and about the Prince Harry thing is that I know that there are a number of well-meaning people who will fall for it. And that's the thing, I've been disappointed to see how many people, and maybe I'm wrong, you might say, well, I'm disappointed in you, but I've been disappointed to see how many people really think that it is in the realm of the possibility that the royal family is trying to have Prince Harry killed, or that the royal family had Prince Harry's mom killed, or that the royal family is such an racist institution where they're just behind the scenes. These royal family members are just frothing at the mouth. They can't wait to put black people down, and they're not even going to give their grandson the title that he deserves because he's black. He's part black. Come on. But there is this group of people that will, well-meaning people that will believe this stuff. And that is another reason why what Harry is doing is so damaging. And also why what Blake is doing is so damaging.